I also think you need to understand the player themselves and the character, because some players just want to play the game and they will accept what the referee does. And I think sometimes a player can end up talking to a referee and making the situation worse.
You're quite quick to jump at us when there's an issue in the game. Actually, if we have a referee that does a good job, can we praise it? Can we drop us an email?
Is there a common something that clubs would love referees to understand more?
I think some of the stuff we get is maybe...
Hello and welcome to the YesRef Podcast. I'm Ollie Ballinger and with me is co-host Ben Williamson. Ben, how are you, mate?
Yo, yeah, I'm okay, mate. Late night last night, I had a PL2 game and the M4 was closed practically everywhere. So I got home at 1:30 this morning. So I'm okay. I just want a nap.
You're looking fresh and beauty-eyed, mate. So anyway, enough.
That's nice.
Enough of that. We are very excited today to welcome our next guest onto the podcast, Harvey Newstead. Harvey, how are you?
Yeah, very well, Ollie. Thank you for having me.
Tremendous. Delighted to have you with us, fellow futsal colleague.
Yeah.
Tell us who you are.
Yeah, so referee development officer at Norfolk County Football Association, also a level 4 match official in football, and then as you've just alluded to, level 1 nationalist futsal referee. So doing football and futsal combined makes my weekends busy, and with football in the week, it's football sort of 24/7.
Which sport do you prefer?
Well, there's not really a preference. I think futsal. I think in terms of the colleagues, I think because we work together probably more, maybe futsal tips it just because of that friendship.
Oh God, we're gonna have a 2-on-1 talking about futsal today then.
Yeah, apologies, Ben.
It's okay. I'm learning slowly, mate.
Tremendous. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about day-to-day life in your role of RDO looks like? Because I think both Ben and I's experience of an RDO in Wiltshire is probably very different to what it's like in Norfolk, because, you know, our own experience probably suggests that counties operate very differently depending on where you're from.
Yeah, so I think, county specifics always, every county will run slightly differently. In terms of RDO day-to-day life, there's quite a lot of variation, right? So no week's the same, which is probably why I enjoy it quite a lot, because there's different things to be working on in the week and day to day. In terms of our county, so I'm a referee development officer, and then we have a referee appointment officer as well. So unlike other counties where the leagues do the appointments, we actually have an in-house appointment officer. So we work slightly differently in terms of that, which is ideal, I think, for our development of our referees, because we can kind of appoint them to where we want them to go and officiate. I think in terms of a week, roughly, Monday and Tuesday will tend to be working around with our referees around issues they've had, reports that they've sent in for matches from the weekend. So that kind of takes a lot of my time up Monday and Tuesday to ensure that our referees have support and actually they're comfortable with what they've reported and they're happy to go out again the following week. And that also will help with retention, right? Because we want to keep referees in the game. If they're not supported, they're not going to do that. But also in Monday and Tuesday is when clubs will email in because they're not happy with the decision or how a situation was handled. So you'll either get the low marks that come through on our forms and then have to deal with that, get the referee's view on it and then liaise with the club, or it could just be as simple as this happened in the game. Can you give us an understanding of what the law is around that to sort of appease the club in terms of what the law is so they have a greater understanding.
So I just want to jump in on the appointments bit. I'm sure you could talk to us about your week and we'll come on to it. So as we know, county FAs do really different things all over the place. What do you think are the benefits of having an in-county appointments officer? Like, I think it's a really, really good thing and I think everyone should have one. Yeah. Why do you do it? Have you looked at other options? What are the benefits?
I think benefits for us in terms of referees register through us and then is keeping everything in one place. Whereas with some other counties who speak to referees, they've got loads of different leagues that they have to then send dates to. So there's no one sort of date system that they all use in terms of leagues. Obviously for us now, we've previously used other sites, we now use YesRef. So we're with you guys to give you the plug there. So all our referees in the county will use YesRef for appointments. So I think that keeps everything in one place. Yes, there's MOAS for the referees that run the line at a slightly high level, and then obviously level 4 and above, we use MOAS for that. But it keeps everything in one place. All information's in one place for referees. And also we can then appoint referees to the games that are suitable for them. Referees that we want to progress and maybe work on certain games. we might think, oh, there's a game there where a referee that's coming through, actually that might be suitable for them. Your more challenging games, your more senior referees are obviously going to be on those. And we can then give the referees a variation of matches throughout the season, and obviously we can then track progress, see how they're doing, how they're performing, club marks, everything all in one place. So I think for us, it's having that sort of control over match officials, but also for match officials, it makes it so much easier for them to have everything kind of in one place. And obviously, it'd be great if all the systems with the FA are all in one. But obviously, they have the two at the moment if they're using.
Do you think that promotes a closer relationship with your referees because there's generally a single source of contact or two? Because I know in Wiltshire we don't have our own appointments officer, and it's something if I'm honest, I'm really pushing for, because I think it's so much better for a referee that comes off the course. They have just two or three people in the county that they always go to. It has to be the right way, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's that unity and that knitted group that we have. So our CPDs at the start of the season. So every referee that wants to be appointed by Norfolk FA for matches must attend a CPD. So we have the option of online and face-to-face this year. So we can get the referees all in one room and give updates around appointment stuff, any sort of updates from the FA, but also from me, I can then deliver an education development session, so actually developing referees while they're there as well. So 100%, we have that communication in the week as well. So when issues arise, we can then put the conflicts on with those teams. So you're not then putting the referees back into a situation that wouldn't be appropriate. So yeah, that unity and actually that collectiveness and that communication between appointment officer, RDO and the referees I think is much more beneficial for the county rather than separate leagues that you could have.
And yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think there are a lot of benefits to doing it, bringing everyone together collectively, because I think you do build relationships up that way. Has it been something that Norfolk has always done and you've been a part of, or has it been something that you've transitioned into?
So it's all, since I came into my role as an apprentice and then obviously moved on to RDO 3 seasons ago, it's always been in place. It's always been in place when I was refereeing. So it's been something that's gone on for quite a long time, and I think is a real success. And obviously we've seen other counties trial it. Obviously when referees or counties are interested in it, maybe they're going to do certain leagues. I've had conversations with our RDOs. My head of services, Matt Lemon, has had meetings with other counties around kind of how we do the model. So some county FAs are trying to replicate it in different ways. Obviously, we only do certain types of football. So I know county close by, they appoint a lot of the youth football but don't do the adult, whereas we do a lot more of the adult football Saturdays, and we only do certain sort of age groups in the youth. But we also do the women's, vets, Sunday league, and all our Saturday football as well in the men's and adult game. So
I think having a consolidated approach certainly allows the individual or the organisation to have a more bird's eye view of what you can do with referees, because you can see everything. I think the thing you've always got to consider is the commercial model, is around bringing in someone else to do that is an expense. You can't underestimate that, and there are competitions and leagues out there that do have volunteers that are happy to do it. So I think that sometimes is where you can create the sticking point.
Yeah, no,
but from a development point of view, I think it's a really strong approach. You started mentioning that your Mondays and your Tuesdays are like dealing with the fire from the weekend.
Yeah.
Like, how do you approach and communicate with the clubs around their gripes that they may or may not have? And does anyone give you any feedback about how good the referees are?
Yeah, so that's one thing we do ask clubs to provide us, and we do get that quite often. It's actually, yes, you're quite quick to jump at us when there's an issue in the game. But actually, if we have a referee that does a good job, can we praise it? Can we drop us an email? One, so we can put that on their file, just so we can keep a note of when people get, but also to let the referee know they've had a good job and done a good job in the game, because that can go a long way to keeping that match fished in the game, getting them maybe doing more games at a weekend. Actually just letting them they've done a good job is such a nice thing, right? So, we always do that. But obviously we do have the communication around maybe a report about a referee's conduct or around certain law or incidents. So clubs will fill out a low mark form on our smart sheet that then comes through to me. I can then liaise with both parties around what could have been done differently, get the referee's observations, because obviously the referee might have seen it totally differently to how the people on the sideline have seen it, and then it's just sort of concluding the situation of what maybe could have happened or what should have happened or what was the right thing to have occurred is what the referee did. So that's usually the Monday and Tuesday of work.
With that, do you think we in football, like collectively, we clubs, referees, county FAs, etc., do enough to do like CPD events for clubs and referees together? Because we do referee CPD, clubs and coaches have their own CPD, but we don't. I don't think we do enough where referees get to see the club side of views and clubs don't see referee side of views. Because there was a recent somebody Premier League stuff were moaning that the referee wasn't good enough or doesn't understand the game or whatever. Like, what could we do more, do you think?
Yeah, I think getting referees and clubs in the same room it would be beneficial. I think with futsal we had at the start of the season, so our laws of the game updates, we had clubs and referees in the same room, and then we did a sort of topic around managing players and managing situations. We've done not get both in the room, but we do offer through Norfolk FA, it's a club and league menu, so clubs and leagues can apply for certain workshops to support them. So it could be a workshop around sideline, assistant refereeing. We do also a couple other ones that are like through the eyes of the referee. So we actually go to clubs or leagues. So it could be the league get all their league secretaries together, or it could be that clubs bring their captains and a manager. We've done it a couple of times last year with Northwest Norfolk League. So they've brought their captains or any key players and manager into a meeting face to face. We've gone out to them, me and Matt Lemon, and delivered a through the eyes of the referee workshop. So kind of why referees referee, a little bit on education around foul recognition, kind of how to best work with the referee, and I think that was really beneficial for the clubs. So actually get an understanding of kind of what a referee goes to on a match day and how they might operate, and actually a little bit of understanding the law. None of them knew careless, reckless, excessive force, which is your basic that we teach referees in a course. But actually, the clubs and the players didn't have a clue about it. So actually giving them that little bit of understanding may just impact and influence the match they then go and have on the Saturday or Sunday. So it's always beneficial. We push it to clubs all the time to do that. But actually, maybe it's something we need to think about as county FAs and referees to maybe bring both groups
closer together,
the game closer together, because it can only then help the experience for everyone, really.
And just I got one more question on this point, Ollie. Sorry, I think I really want to know the answer.
Go for it, Ben. Yeah. Treat yourself.
I will. Thank you. Is there like a common club gripe? Like that referees don't... There'll be loads of things that they say referees don't do very well or could do better. But is there a common something that clubs would love referees to understand more?
I think some of the stuff we get is maybe conduct around referees.
In terms of
sort of not explaining decisions, being quite blunt in the match, so they don't get an understanding of why decisions were made, which I understand can cause a lot of frustration. So that's where we'll tailor some of our CPD around sort of managing situations, game management, having those conversations with players. What it could just be a one-worded answer to a player when they want a decision, and that actually might help that player be able to just move on from the situation. So anything that we get, if it's persistent stuff, so a lot of it has been sort of game management, talking to players, because some referees in the moment of it, they're just trying to concentrate on the game. So I understand some of them they don't want to speak to the player, but actually then can you have that conversation in a break in play to actually then really help your match control? So
to say I'll come back to you in 30 seconds is so much better than ignoring them, right?
Yeah.
Top tip for the listeners.
Could help.
I don't disagree with talking to players is important, but I also think you need to understand the player themselves and the character, because some players just want to play the game and they will accept what the referee does. And I think sometimes a player can end up talking to a referee and making the situation worse. Like, the player doesn't care what the referee wants to do. Player just wants to play. If the referee makes a decision whether he likes or dislikes it, so what? I want to put the ball down at my feet and I want to dribble and I want to score. So, yes, I would encourage communication for sure. And I think you could communicate in all these wonderful different ways, with the whistle, body language, with the voice. But I think sometimes you have to know the player, and if it's one of the players that just needs to be left alone.
How do you do that? Like, if you're 14, if you're 14, 15, you just start refereeing, how do you know the players you can talk to?
Yeah, and that's a challenge that we speak about a lot on referee courses. So I think it will come with experience. I think as you get more experience in refereeing, that's going to help. Obviously, if you've got a game understanding a little bit, you've played football before, you might know that. But I think it's reading situations and reading the game in terms of player reactions and things, and trying to create that rapport early on when you arrive at the game. Because actually, you don't just referee the 90 minutes. You're there before the game, have that pre-match conversation with players. You're doing the jury check, hit check, whatever it could be in the tunnel. When you're having that warm up, there might be the odd player that has that conversation with you, or you might chat to a player.
Laugh, smile,
and actually, you can get on that same wavelength with them straight away. And actually, in the game, there'll be the players that will then be able to possibly help you. Might be the captain, it might not. It might be a different player. The captain might be the worst player to have to try and deal with. Which we've all probably experienced. So actually having that other player that you might be able to speak to, and you've already had that previous conversation with them, you've already built that rapport with them. So that's obviously stuff we teach on the referees course, but it will come with experience. I think obviously the more games you do, the better you're going to get at everything, and that game understanding and how you manage certain situations is obviously going to be different as you gain more experience.
Okay, so where did we get to? We got to Tuesday. So we've done a lot already since Tuesday. What's the rest of the week look like?
So rest of the week will depend on projects, operation plans, and sort of the things that are going on in the week. So obviously, not our main work, because obviously the work needs to be the best interest of referees. So if there's something that needs to be sorted for referees, that's what comes as a priority. But as an FA working with us, we have 4 key performance indicators that the FA sort of have our work towards. So you've got recruitment, retention, progression, and then conversion. So obviously the recruitment work that we do is obviously delivering referee courses. So yes, there's a number that we have in terms of what the FA would like us to recruit. But then because we appoint to referees, there's always games that we need referees for. So we have our own internal target that we want to try and achieve. But also we break that down into referees that want to do adult football and youth football, because there's different demands for those types of football. Putting on courses, liaising with clubs to try and get people to put people from their clubs onto courses, working with our marketing team to get news stories out, because the more we can promote about refereeing through our sort of social media channels, just the refereeing story gets just published around and people see it through social media. So a lot around recruitment. And obviously once we deliver courses, it's then working with the referees to ease them into sort of refereeing sort of at the week.
Are they easy to fill courses nowadays? Do you fill all your courses, or
most run? We do actually struggle sort of west of the county, so sort of Kings Lynn, so the Northwest Norfolk League. We do a lot of work with them to try and get a course on. So that's one of our key things this year, to try and get a course out that way. We tried one in the summer. Unfortunately, it didn't run, but the few that did book on, we've been managed to be able to get on to other courses. So this year, so far, we've trained 81 referees. Okay. I think 81, something around that mark.
Why do you think you're struggling, Kings Lynn? Is there a reason for that?
Possibly, it's we're quite a big county in terms of location, actually, where people are dotted around. Obviously, maybe not as big as catchment area to get referees. The league previously had some issues a few years ago, and actually the Northwest Norfolk League and the committee are doing some really good work. They were one of the people that did the workshop with us. It's just trying to get referees out in that way. Could be a number of factors, I think. Why referees in that area might not want to officiate on that border, obviously, of other counties. So, it is difficult, but I think we try and use Power BI to look where our other areas are. So, we've done one out in Great Yarmouth in the east. So we had, I think, 20 on that course, which was excellent at the start of the season. So, really good for some of the youth leagues that we appoint to, and also some of the youth leagues that we don't appoint actually their referees, but their clubs put referees on, so then their games are then covered. So that's really, really key for us.
I think that's really important that clubs kind of push younger players, or the players that meet the age criteria, onto referees courses, because I think it also just gives them like a really good understanding, and then that helps like bridge the gap of where we were saying earlier that players don't really understand law. Well, actually, if they can get on a referees course at 14, 15 and referees to the under 12s in their club, before they go and play in the afternoon, we increase knowledge and get more games covered. That's got to be a benefit, right?
Yeah, but also it's then players being a role model for the players at their football club. So actually, then players come through. Like we've got quite a lot of families of referees in Norfolk. So we've got like mums and dads, and then their son and daughter both referee. We've got like a dad and a son with a couple of brothers, sisters that both referee. So they've seen their brother start refereeing, then they've actually I'll get involved with that. But also, if players see a referee every week when they're young, they've seen a role model, and actually they might think about roles in football. And if they've had a good referee and someone that's actually an official referee, they might think, "Oh, when I'm 14, I want to take the course." But yeah, we work a lot with our clubs, and if they've got enough people, we'll run a private course for that club. So last year with Horsford, they had 12 individuals, and all were players at the club, and the club were willing to pay for them to do the course. They provided the facilities, so over the weekend delivered a course, and quite a lot of those are still refereeing for Horsford. I know some have gone to university, or some have decided actually it maybe wasn't for them, but the majority of them are still refereeing now for Horsford every weekend. So their club have match officials that they can tap into for fixtures, which is excellent. So they're not having to come to us to say we're struggling for referees. They've done something about it as a club and thought, let's see if we can get our players that are under 15, 16s, we'll pay for it and get them on the course, and that can help massively for a club, a grassroots club in the county for sure.
I think that's really interesting, Harvey, about clubs wanting to do their own referee courses. And I think more and more of that should be encouraged, because it sort of builds that pool of referees around that club. And I think depending on the sport that you officiate in, that is a lot more apparent than it is in, let's say, like football. Like you create the sort of a club, I know cricket is a little bit different insofar as, sometimes depending on the level in which you play in cricket, you'll have, batsman 10, 11, umpiring, which, it's all relevant, it's all important. But I like the fact that people get to wear those different hats, all part of the same club, because it makes you drive the same game, and I know rugby is certainly similar in terms of creating that camaraderie. But those referees that are part of that club, do you think it should be upon the club to appoint those referees to their local games? Do you think that creates any conflict, or is it about creating an environment where referees can whistle the games and just gain the experience?
Yeah, I think
whistle
so.
The game.
Yeah, in terms of whistle the game, Ollie loves it.
Don't you start.
I won't. In terms of the youth football, right? So majority of the youth football in the county, if they've got a referee, brilliant, it's a qualified match official. But if they haven't got a match official and they ask Norfolk FA to provide someone or see if we can get someone for them, if we don't have a referee for them, who referees it? So it's going to be a mum, dad, a parent, nan, granddad. Someone's going to step in, or even the coach is going to step in, right? So actually, even though they've got a link with the same under 16 team, if it's the under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, why not have someone that's qualified to do the game? That's better than someone without any knowledge. So obviously, maybe slightly older age groups, which is probably a bit more of a conflict. And obviously, games that we appoint, we don't want to have, we want a neutral person. But if it's nobody or someone that's involved with the club, actually, youth football, right? Get a qualified referee on the game, and actually probably be a better game for everyone, rather than a parent having to do it. The coach can then actually concentrate on coaching the team and developing the players. Actually, the referee then has a game to referee, and no referee, I don't think, even if it's their club, is going to go out of their way to do anything that causes a conflict. They're going to go and do an honest job, and the best job they can do for the football match they're refereeing.
Yeah, I think that's just like a sense of pride, isn't it? Like, I'm here to do a job. Yeah, fine, I'm the under-16s player, but I'm here to referee because I'm
probably doesn't know any of those players anyway. Like, they're not gonna. Like, yes, they play the same club, but they never train together. They might not see each other very often.
They're not going to know each other.
So, yeah, for sure.
I think it's fascinating. People say, like, did you referee like Melksham, Ben, when you were growing up? I'm like, yeah. Well, how can you do that? You live there, right? I also live in England. Does that mean I can never referee a team in England?
Thorpe Village is 5 minutes around the corner from me. I used to referee for them. People go, you go to Thorpe High School. It's like, so none of those players go to the high school. They're all older. So
don't make a difference, does it? But there's this common misconception, I think, that you can't referee. Same, I think, from my policing. I don't know if you know, I'm a police officer as well. Do you police your own town? Yeah, I don't know the however many thousands of people that live in my town.
Yeah,
I've got a job to do. I've got to go and do it, right?
Yeah, I think unless people have done the job or have a bit more understanding about refereeing, then actually you just jump to an assumption, or you just come up with what you think, and that's what you think is what's the answer to maybe the problem.
So your job as an RDO seems to be ever evolving. You're dealing with lots of feedback from clubs and referees, doing lots of education with the grassroots team, running courses, tutoring courses. No doubt you squeeze in a few observations and match day coaches in there. But like, what is one of the biggest challenges as an RDO? Like, what's really difficult to achieve?
I think listening to referees was, when I came into the role, was probably the biggest challenge we had, in terms of referees always talk when they're at matches about the FA, county FA problems that they've got, or that they're not happy with appointments, just general referee chat, where you might hear it from another referee as an RDO. And when I came into the role, it was something we wanted to try and improve that and give referees a platform to be able to voice opinions and try and make a little bit of change. So it's still a challenge, obviously, now, but what we've done to sort of try and change that is we created a referee engagement group. So any referee could apply to be on it. We had like 10 spaces, we said, roughly, for like a group. So we have 10 referees, but we also have representatives from different organisations. So we have someone from the RA, our mental health champions on it. We have someone from our young referee group, so we have someone that sort of represents the young referees. And then we've also got someone from our Assessors Association. I'd love the name to be changed to
Assessors Association.
Yeah, so it's an independent group set up by the assessors, as they previously were known. Obviously now they're observers, matchday coaches, or mentors. It's something I'd love to get.
Not
that
quite the same ring to it. Observers, assessors, matchday coordinators.
Yeah, so I'd like to get that changed. Maybe some sort of workforce group,
developer.
Yeah. So we'll see how that can evolve. But so we have all those representatives and then 10 referees, and we meet every couple of months. But in the first season, with my first season as RDO, we met pretty much every month, because obviously there was things they maybe wanted improved or changed from the previous RDO. And David did a great job, but there's things that referees just wanted different change on. So we wanted to give referees that voice. But obviously we've got 500 referees, and other counties have more referees than us. So it's actually hard to be able to speak to our referees all the time. So that's why we've given them that platform. They can then speak to the people in their area to bring things to the meetings. There's also an anonymous form that we have that's sent out to referees every month in our bulletin. So actually, if you've got a problem but you don't really want to confront it straight up, you can just anonymously put it in there. It's then up for discussion at a reg meeting. But I always say to referees, if there's a problem, unless you tell me about it, we can't work on it, we can't change it. So don't moan about it in the change room to an assistant, who then, you never know, might drop it in conversation speaking. But pick up the phone, come into the office, book in some time to have a meeting where we can try and change stuff. So we've been able to adapt things, change things, especially in that first year. Is a massive eye-opener for me about what referees were thinking in the county, but also over the last couple of years now, we've been able to just have little things. Anything we're thinking about maybe bringing out, we can then run past that group. Actually, do they think it's good? Do they think it's not? So at the moment, we're now just reviewing how the CPDs went in the summer. So actually, a lot came to face-to-face, but obviously some sat on the online stuff, because we offered both options. And actually, some of the group didn't like the online stuff. They said, actually, yes, it was the same stuff that was delivered, but the online didn't have that same engagement, and obviously it wouldn't. So we want to get people more face-to-face. So that's now that group. We've let that group now go away. Next meeting, bring some ideas of how you'd like it to look for next season. So if that's more practical elements, if it is that it's always now going to be face-to-face, so we can use our engagement group to try and enhance refereeing and make their experience better, because my job is to service them. So if there's something they're not enjoying, if we can try and change it, then why not? Obviously, there's things where they've brought suggestions, like when we moved to YesRef, and everyone's going, well, why can't we use MOAS? Well, unfortunately, we just can't at the moment. So this is, for me, the next best thing. So that's why we're going on it. So it's then...
Great plug. Thank you.
No problem.
So, I think it's really interesting about the feedback being online versus in person. because you miss out on those water fountain conversations, right? When you're just huddling around even just before the meeting starts or at a toilet break or whatever, you just miss out on that casual interaction. And we're humans, right? So
it's that catch up, isn't it, as well? We don't get any of that. And I don't enjoy delivering them as much as I do the face-to-face ones. The face-to-face ones, they can turn up half an hour before, everything's set up, grab a tea or coffee, have the chat with your colleagues, whereas the Zoom meeting starts and everyone's waiting for me just to start the meeting.
Mic off, cameras off.
And then we'd be in the end, I asked them, keep the cameras on, because then I'm not just talking to a blank screen. But most people, if it's convenient, I understand it. They come home from work, they might be listening in as they might be cooking tea or trying to deal with childcare and things. But we want them to stay engaged as best you can. So obviously we promoted and we delivered more face-to-face to try and get people.
And I think it's really nice just getting everyone together. Like, we spent so long on not being together, and any opportunity to get a load of referees around the table, around the field of play, around whatever, I think so much better. So that probably leads on to my next question of what was your why? Like, why did you take the role when it came up? What was your main inspiration? And did you have by the end of my tenure doing this role, I want to achieve X? Like, what? Why?
Yeah, so I think it comes back to a little bit of wanting to be involved in football and sport. So obviously at sixth form, I did a placement at primary school, which was my old primary school, and then I got a part-time job there, so delivering in sport. So that was something I always wanted to be involved in. So I thought PE teacher, bit of that education, teaching stuff is kind of where I wanted to go down and stay within sport. But then obviously you're thinking about other football roles, so that was kind of, I want to be involved in football. So my why is always want to be involved in football. Or some sort of sport, and then that teaching education thing. And obviously then I was thinking about jobs, and then I thought, oh, well, our RDO would be brilliant. Kind of brings both your interests, your passion, your loves all together. But it's a really niche and hard role to get, because unless there's a position in your county FA, unless you're prepared to maybe travel a few hours to go and do another county's role, it's quite hard. So, and anywhere from Norfolk is miles away, so you're not really going to try and do those roles in the counties. So for me, it then came to, do I go to university and try and maybe do degrees and then become maybe a teacher in keeping that education piece, or something in a role in sport. Then the apprenticeship came up at Norfolk FA, so I took that, and that was for football services administrator. So working in the football services team, which David, the RDO, and the appointment officer would sit in, but I was looking after the county cups. So that was my main role for 2 seasons. And then David retired conveniently at the end of my 2 years, went through all the official proceedings, and obviously then got offered the job. And nice. I was quite pleased with that, because it fitted the passion of refereeing and that love for football, and also still has that education teaching bit with courses and developing referees through CPD. So it's kind of that ideal role that I've got. For me, in terms of things I wanted to maybe sort of hit, I hadn't really set myself 3 or 5 year targets, because I was quite young in terms of like first season, just actually need to get to know referees, because some referees I would have worked with but didn't. There was that piece about listening to referees, because I've been on the ground as a ref, and referees speak to you when you're obviously as an apprentice and just about things, but can we try and create some change? But then also, we'd just come back from COVID, so our referees, like, retention number wasn't great. So
was that really difficult to bounce back?
Yeah, it was tough. Obviously, I really enjoyed delivering the county cups when we came back, because that's one thing we decided to do. We came back from football, we delivered the county cup competition. So myself and the team were furloughed, and we were straight into delivering our 10 county cup competitions. It was really enjoyable, because we got football back and we had some really exciting competitions and finals. But then, obviously, then taking that role in July, it was like, blimey, we've not got enough referees here. So I think, I can't really remember what the target was from the FA. It might have been like 80, 90 referees to recruit. And I think we trained 150 in that first year. Because that was the big target. We need to get referees back doing courses and get referees out there refereeing. So that was really, for me, in the first year, that big target to hit.
What what is the key KPIs for you as an RDO? Because I think that is a very different opinion depending on what hat you wear in the county. So like as a club, I think I probably have a different expectation as to what your RDO looks like versus if I'm a referee, I've got a different opinion again, versus if I'm the FA, right, I probably got a different opinion again, so like what is it that you've got to focus on that becomes a priority?
Yeah, so from the FA, there's the four. So your recruitment, retention, conversion, and progression. So you have a number that you need to hit and recruit, but then we have our ops plan that's county specific, which will have programs and things in that will maybe work towards some of them, but also are our referee county specific that need to be done for our referees because that's who we're servicing. So it might be that the FA say need to train 100, but we can see actually we probably, with the drop off that we've had, we might actually need to train 120. So we'll set our own targets around the FA ones. Retention, there's a percentage off a baseline of your referees that you had from the previous year that the FA will give you, that you then need to retain those referees. So actually, there's referees that we've seen on our list that haven't re-registered. And it could be that they're quite new still to refereeing, so they might have just done their course last year and they're still unaware they had to re-register. So it's just giving them that courtesy call just to see kind of how they're doing. And if it is that they've stopped, we also send out a survey start of September. So I've been getting feedback from that around why referees have stopped.
Give us an insight into one of the reasons.
One was referee abuse, be quite blunt and honest with it.
Okay.
So then it was just, I phoned that referee up to see if actually can we get them back into refereeing with a mentor. So a couple have decided to. Some is age, they've refereed for quite a few years, they've decided that they don't want to do it anymore. Childcare, different work commitments have changed that. And some of them have put, but would like to maybe continue in the future. So it's then maybe 3 or 4 months down the line, can I go back in and try and engage with that referee again to get them back into refereeing? So we don't want to lose them forever, but they might not referee for 6 months. So it's then actually saying, do you want to re-register now so you get the updates and you can sort of still be part of the development, but you're not refereeing at the moment. The other obviously ones we have are progression. So we need to obviously progress referees through the system. So obviously you've got the match day coaching with 7, 6, 6 to 5. Then you've got your observations at 5 to 4. So we've got a record number this year of referees that want to go on the progression pathway. I think we're around 80 referees applied. Nice. We've got around 450, 500 referees. So we're pretty pleased with that. I think we promoted around 35 last year.
Strong.
So to have 80 on the list this year is fantastic. Might not all do it in one season. That's obviously the beauty with the match day coaching and the new progression pathways. It's at the referee's pace. So we'll highlight certain referees, and referees they want to progress quite quickly, whereas some want to do it a little bit slower in their time, so they're not strict to that season. And also, I think with the match day coaching, it was a good decision in terms of some of these referees are still quite new to refereeing at level 7. Actually, shouldn't be worrying about an observer on the side of the pitch and what do I need to do to impress that observer. Actually, just referee the game, and this match day coach that's come to see you would have already had that conversation with you pre-game to see how can they help you, what things you've been working on, what you don't think you do well and what you do think you do well, and can just help you become a better referee, because that's what the person on the side of the pitch, even if it is an observer, their main goal is to make you a better referee. That for us, I think the matchday coaching is really beneficial because the referee's not worrying about observer, and when they're making a decision thinking, do I need to do this or this to get the marks, because there is no real official mark, just what do you perform well in and what should you be working on in the next game. And also the form's excellent with it having the key focus for the next game. So that's that one thing actually is causing the referee a problem, or one thing the referee needs to deal with to be better next week in their game.
I think it's really interesting, Harvey, to understand like what it is that you do day to day, like what's a priority, where you've got to focus your time on. And what I would probably also say is like it's really quite encouraging to have, what I would say is a very proactive RDO. My experience of RDOs in my time as a young referee is always different. We didn't have that central appointment solution, so the interaction with the county was always different. But also these forums, they probably weren't there when I was around. There might have been a couple of local RA meetings at the time, but some of the things that you're doing sound like fantastic, and I think it should be really exciting for for referees, both of the younger generation and the older generation, maybe players who have stopped and want to referee, to have this sort of wonderful facility where they can seek support, education, advice, and just gain that enjoyment out of refereeing.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of questions for you. The first one is like, what is your priority this season? And I'd like to ask you across the 3 different hats that you wear. So your role is RDO, your role as a football referee, and then your role as a futsal referee.
Cool. No problem. So I'll start off with futsal referee. I think gain as much more experience as I can. Obviously, love to be involved with the grand finals at the end of the season. Was away on holiday last year, so I couldn't.
Yeah, so I heard you were going to get one, mate, but you just went on holiday. So
you never know.
You've had that opportunity, and you decided to go swanning off.
You never know. So no, you always want to be involved with those big games at the end of the season. So I think as a futsal referee, to be involved in that, potentially maybe one of those sort of the youth tournaments come up at the end of the season. Did Poland a couple of years ago. Obviously, Olly, I know you went out to Croatia in the summer, and then we did the partially sighted World Championships in Birmingham. So actually, maybe something like that if we can get the opportunity. But yeah, just if you're involved in the grand finals, I think you've had a good season.
Done well
in terms of marks. Not too bothered about merit position in terms of you want to be. Obviously, if you know you're getting a final, you've probably been higher up. So I don't try to worry about the marks too much in terms of position. But actually, have you had that reward? Are you involved with those big games? I think football, just keep consistently trying to have a good performance. I think I had a really strong season last year. Don't think I was far off promotion, so it's just building on that to keep going and obviously balancing the two, because Saturdays and Sundays can.
There'll be a choice soon, surely. Do you think there'll be a choice that you'll have to decide which one you like more?
I don't know. It depends on how far I got up the levels. I think at the moment, level 4 and level 1 works. But it's not. It's kind of in my hands to an extent. If I perform well, you might progress in either of them, and then when that time comes, then if there's a decision to be made, there's a decision to be made. So.
Ollie, you were level 4 when you made a decision, weren't you?
Yeah, so I was. I think 2015, 2016 was the season I decided to take a step back from level 4.
Yeah,
and it was probably more a choice that I imposed on myself than I think that anyone imposed on me. So I didn't. The FA didn't impose it, and I think it was a case of it is a lot to referee 2 different disciplines. And I know there's people that referee football and referee cricket. I think it's a little bit more cleaner because you have that. You can actually switch off from one and start the other. But I think when you're like refereeing football on a Saturday and futsal on a Sunday, whilst there are similarities in the game, like they are 2 very different games to officiate.
God, imagine doing your little.
Yeah, because you imagine start counting. It might help.
What are you doing, mate?
It might help this year with time wasting. You never know. Start.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We used to count 4 seconds, up like that. Yeah. And I've definitely done that on a couple of goal kicks in football before now,
No.
So it happens. So it is hard, but they come up
on the halfway line. You're running over to the penalty spot, like, bam!
Okay, mate. It's 5 fouls, and on the 6th one, we'll go into the.
We're having a special penalty. Yeah, for sure.
Work in football? That is a great question. Could that work in football?
What?
The 6th, 5th foul, 6th foul, I don't know which one it is, but the next one is then a penalty, stop fouling, or for a type of free kick, for a type of foul.
Really interesting to see it in like some trials.
I think the number would have to change.
Yeah, I think it would, because there's a longer game, more contact.
But
also, like delaying the restart of play, like if you do that more than 3 times, next time we don't worry about these yellow cards that we're doing now. Next time you delay the restart of play, I'm giving a penalty.
The stop clock could be interesting.
What football needs to learn from futsal is definitely the clock and its ability to focus and eradicate time wasting. Yeah. I think that's one of the things it needs to take away.
But grassroots game, bringing that down would be quite hard, I think.
It could be challenging to do it, but I definitely think that's one of the things that needs to pinch.
The principle of it would help massively, I think, for sure.
Yeah. So, anyway, 2015, 16, when I had to make that decision, I was of the opinion, which pathway do I choose? And I thought...
Now look at you.
And I thought, I think I prefer being a fair weather referee, haven't got to worry about the weather. So
maybe I'll close more of my dates. The FA might.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When the weather's like it is now, it doesn't excite me necessarily going out and officiating in the torrential rain. And even worse if you're an assistant referee, if you ask me. But it's all personal preference, right?
I love nothing more than standing on the halfway line on a cold, rainy, wet night, thinking, "What am I doing here? And why have I got to drive 3 hours home?"
Yeah. I'm sure. So,
biggest challenge, your priority for the season as an RDO. I think we'd stopped there.
So I think there's always still a demand for referees. So I think probably still one of our priorities is keep hitting the targets to get more referees and actually go above the targets that we've been set. Because I don't think we're that far off. I think if we run one more course to pretty full, we'd probably hit the FA's KPI for this year. But actually,
get it done in Kings Lynn.
We need one in Kings Lynn. That's a massive priority.
Any Kings Lynn referees, we're going to get you on a course.
Yeah, we need people on there. So that's a priority for this season. Probably in the new year. We normally run a couple in February. We don't do January because we always think people don't have money after Christmas. So we do like a January New Year's resolution. That's what our marketing team do. And that's really, really worked last couple of years. We've run 2 courses in February. They've always been full. So it's pushing in January, actually, try something new and become a referee. So that's a massive priority. And then I also think more face-to-face training, because I think we want referees to be better. And yes, sat behind a screen reviewing clips and looking at a technical topic is fantastic, but also we referee on the green stuff or in futsal on the court. So we need to get outside and be doing more practical. So I think that's something, and just getting referees together in general. Obviously, people got comfortable sitting behind the screen over the last few years anyway with COVID, and then don't want to then go out because it's convenient. But actually, we need to get back to that training. So that's probably, for me, they'd be our priorities. And then continuing that work with the club and league, actually, as we discussed at the start, I think that's maybe a good idea for something we could introduce over the next couple of seasons. So for sure.
Okay, so we got one final question for you, Harvey, and we're asking all of our podcast guests this very question. So intrigued to hear what your answer is going to be. If we gave you a magic wand, what one thing would you like to change about refereeing?
So for me, I think I'd have to say around referee perception, referee abuse. I think it's the biggest thing of why referees don't have a good experience or leave the game. So I think our grassroots referees go out and do a tremendous job every week.
Yeah.
And actually, for the grassroots referees that I look after, it's their hobby. They're involved doing it because they love football. So it's just having that understanding that actually they are a human, and getting those players to have that understanding of they're just there to do the best job they can to actually allow a game of football to take place.
Yeah.
So for me, it would just be that I get there's frustration, I get there's passion. We don't want to take that away from football at all, because that's what makes football great, right? So it's just having that understanding that a referee is just human. They're going to make mistakes, but actually the job they do to keep grassroots football going is truly remarkable and quite commendable.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. We the role of a referee is definitely human. And they're there because they got passion for the game, and all they ever want to do is their best. And I think the more we can create an environment where that is true, the better for the game. I think the sport.
It's about the love as well, right? I think we've said this on the previous podcast actually, that do clubs and players and secretaries, etc., understand that we love the game too. We just love it in a different way, that we're just not good enough to play, but we love it and we want to be involved.
Yeah. For sure. Speak for yourself in terms of the playing.
Yeah, quite right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
My bad. Yeah, definitely me. That's just a horrendous player. Yeah, I can't.
2 left feet, Ben.
I mean, I wish I had 2 left feet. I can't even give myself that much credit.
So, if people want to follow your story, Harvey, and follow you in your various roles that you play in the game, you got what's your @ symbol?
Oh, Twitter. I think it's just at Harvey Newstead.
Oh, it's actually X. If we could get that right, that'd be great.
X, yeah. It's at Harvey Newstead. If you want to look at Norfolk FA, obviously at Norfolk County FA, or we've got a referee department, so it's NCFA refereeing on Twitter, or X, as Ben's just said.
Tremendous. Harvey, been a real pleasure to
Thanks so much, mate.
listen to you and understand a little bit more about what your role is in, particularly as your role as RDO. So thank you very much. And we'll get one of these exciting YesRef hoodies in the post to you.
Thank you very much.
All the best for the season, mate, in your level 4 refereeing and your level 1 national list futsal refereeing and your priorities as your RDO role. Wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. You too. Thank you.
See you soon, Harvey.
Cheers, mate.